right, we're back with another episode of Transparency Talks. And today I'm very excited about the guest that we have, Miss Sandra Barnes with the Office of Inspector General. You know, when we came, Director Marshall and I came into this agency, a lot of talk about the Inspector General, you guys' role, and I think that this will be very beneficial to a lot of people to help them understand the role that you guys play. I think in the past, maybe there has been this different type of relationship over the season, right? We could even hear it here. And Director Marshall and I said from the very beginning, hey, we're excited about this relationship. We're excited about the role that you guys play and how that can help us and how we get this agency to where it should be. I just want you to start out, maybe just talk about your position, what your role is, and the role of the Inspector General's office.
Okay. Well, thanks for having me. Definitely appreciate it. So I am the Deputy Assistant Inspector General for the Investigations Division. Our agency, we have multiple divisions. We have an Audit Division, an Evaluations and Inspections Division, Oversight and Review, and our Investigations Division. So I am responsible for overseeing all of our criminal and administrative misconduct investigations across the United States. So we have 9 different regions. 2 of those are specialty offices. We have a cyber investigations office as well as a fraud detection office. We can reach any state, any prison, any facility, and we also conduct overseas investigations as well.
You guys are definitely busy, and I think you're really busy with the BOP.
Yes, we're definitely very busy with the BOP. We receive about 17,000 complaints a year, and 80% of those are related to the Bureau of Prisons.
Wow. So what type of complaints do you guys deal with? What are some of the things that you see traditionally coming across your desk?
A lot of the complaints that we get that have criminal allegations deal with introduction of contraband, bribery, excessive use of force, and sexual abuse. Those are the main categories for our criminal cases with the prison.
And, you know, how do these generally come to you? How do you generally learn about these issues?
Well, we get a lot of mail, as you could imagine. We get about 300 to 500 pieces of mail a month. Most of those are from inmates. We also have our PREA email box that we receive a lot of emails from the inmates in that way. And we get people who fill out the hotline on our website portal, a complaint in that way. And sometimes they come from Congressman's office, refer things to us to look at.
Do you also get some from staff, other staff turning?
We do.
Turning in
we absolutely do. We get referrals from the BOP, the Office of Internal Affairs. They send stuff over. And sometimes when we're out at a prison doing other work, people will come up to us and give us information about a new allegation.
And when those investigations start, because, you know, we've all seen the cases, right? Where they come across our desk, unfortunately, all too often. Talk us through what that investigation process looks like.
So 95% of our cases start out as criminal cases. Serious criminal allegations come in. And I always like to explain to people that we're running 2 investigations for every case that we have. We're running the criminal investigation and looking at all the criminal allegations, as well as looking at all the administrative violations. So all the policy violations and things of that nature at the same time. And as we move through our case and we're working with the U.S. Attorney's Office, whenever we present all the evidence that we have, they make a decision. If they want to prosecute the case, we move forward in that way. If they decline to prosecute the case, we still continue with the administrative misconduct investigation. So whenever we write our final report, whether it got prosecuted or not, we include all of that information in our report for the Bureau of Prisons then to use that information to take whatever action they see fit. A lot of employees think that if they resign or retire in the middle of the case, that it goes away, but that is not so. We have indicted and arrested many people who had already resigned or retired.
You know, one of the things that has, I guess, surprises me is how surprised they are when they get caught. We're working together a lot on several different things. You and I are getting to see each other on the screen a pretty good bit with some meetings, with some strategies that we're doing with institutions all across our country. And some of the intel we all are sharing and have, it's shocking, some of the things that are happening. It's one of the things I think it's good for this podcast because our staff get to see this. And we know staff will be watching this that maybe had participated or know somebody that is participating in some of these things. Maybe talk us through some of those reactions that you get because you've been boots on the ground right in the prison. You're there when you go in and do these investigations, when you walk these staff members out in handcuffs. Talk us through what some of that has been like.
Well, I want to say that I respect what the employees do. It is a very, very hard job. It's tough. I want to go home to my lovely husband every night. I'm sure everyone wants to go home to their families. We want to help people be able to be safe in the institutions and the inmates as well. So whenever we're investigating staff, a lot of times they think it's just them and the one inmate that they're, bringing in contraband to or receiving payments. And that's just not the case. So as all of your employees know, inmates know everything about each other. They know when a staff member's having sex with an inmate. They know who's getting contraband from staff members. They know how it's getting paid. It's not the worry of just the one inmate that the staff member is dealing with. They usually get caught because everybody else knows, and either they're not getting a piece of that benefit, or they get upset with the staff member because they didn't get something they want, and now they're going to tell someone. We have a lot of information that we get from all the peripheral players in the crime. So as we get little tidbits of information, we just start building up our case, whether it's subpoenas for, bank records, phone records, their Facebook account, their Gmail. We just have a lot of tools that we can gather all the evidence, and they just eventually get caught.
Just like many of the criminals we have inside, you look at some of these things and you go, wow, you weren't that smart. And as we see, the role of the digital currency, how that's changed, that's really impacted the Bureau of Prisons a lot. It's really changed the game. I'll tell you, I go out to a lot of prisons, probably a record amount at this time. And then there were about 40 institutions so far. And I can't tell you how many staff we've had come up to me and thank me for Director Marshall and I really putting an emphasis on the corrupt staff, the staff that are not great team players, that are making their lives miserable. We're hearing it more and more every month of just that they're seeing investigations pick up. They're seeing us take things serious. We've been working a lot with our internal affairs department, really trying to get that. We've still got a lot of work to do, but we're really trying to get that into a better place. How do you see the relationship with Bureau of Prisons and the Office of Inspector General working even better? How does this, we've been trying already. How can we make that even more seamless and better?
It has been a really great relationship over the past many years, and it keeps improving. I think a lot of that is just understanding the challenges of what staff have to deal with and, our mission of getting the corrupt staff out. And I would say 98% of every agency's employees are wonderful employees. It's just the bad apples, the 1%, 2% that just jeopardize everything. And so we have a great relationship with the Internal Affairs Office and the wardens around the country. They have welcomed us because they don't want anything to jeopardize the safety of their institution as well. So we have a lot of communication with them. We try to be as informative as possible, so there's no unknowns, because I think the more you communicate and as much as we can tell people, why we're here, this is what we're looking into, it kind of takes some of the the mystery out of, oh my gosh, what is happening? But the relationship has really, really grown. And even with our evaluations and inspection division and audit division, a lot of what they do, the no notice inspections or the audits on infrastructure, we're trying to help give you a product to then possibly ask for more funds to fix those things. Or if there's a weak process, hey, this is great. We can make things better for all the other employees. So we really try to be very communicative and, help the Bureau of Prisons get what you need and ensure the safety of your employees and the inmates as well.
The standards of federal law enforcement should be high, right? I mean, they are. There's a lot of responsibility doing what we do inside of the Bureau of Prisons. I say it all the time. It's a role that I think society, Congress don't really understand, one, and then they don't really understand how important it is. 97% of the people we have in the BOP are going to be returning to our society. They're going to be our neighbors one day. So everything that happens inside of there is very important. The examples they see, how they're treated, how they're interacted with. Let me ask you this. What have you seen over the years, how the role of cell phones have changed inside the BOP and with your role with the Office of Inspector General?
Cell phones have always been a problem. I know the bribe payment can be very high depending on how available they are to get it to the prison. So I would say maybe 10, 12 years ago, inmates were mostly using cell phones for movies, videos, pictures, communicating with their loved ones. And over the years, we've seen more of the cell phones being used to commit other crimes, child porn on the cell phones, or contacting outside people and still making drug deals happen. Or, we've had a case on a murder for hire, and it was the contraband cell phone that was used to set that up and to target another staff member. It has definitely evolved, so they're not victimless crimes. We had a case many years ago where they were shipping cell phones in cereal boxes, 20 to 30 cell phones in one cereal box, and they palletized it. And they flooded the prison, and now you have inmates communicating with other inmates across different housing units. And then now there's a safety issue when they go out. It's definitely been used to commit more crime as opposed to communicate with family and not want to use their accounts to pay for it.
We've been talking about different ways that we go and interact at different prisons. Word spreads quickly with cell phones.
Yes.
Through different prisons, through different housing units and networks. This agency has had its budget pretty flat the last few years. And as costs have increased, I've noticed as we've come in and looked, less and less money being spent targeting those things when, in fact, they're getting worse and worse and worse, causing more damage. And so I'm hopeful that Director Marshall and I can be able to make some of those investments where we need to. If you've noticed, we're putting out almost daily now when we're catching contraband coming into institutions from all kinds of different ways. Some staff, we obviously work those cases, but from drones, from throwovers, from small visitation. But the staff in our agency are dealing with an absolute just deluge of this contraband coming in, and it's a real challenge. What do you wish people knew in our agency especially, but what do you wish people knew about your office and the role it plays and what it does?
I think the most important thing is that we are actually here to help make the BOP better by getting out bad apples who can jeopardize people's safety, such as bringing in drugs, we've had actual firearms brought in by staff or inmates, weapons. We've had staff exposed to fentanyl because drugs are in the institution. We are here to help make the prisons, the environment, a better working environment, just better all around, even with our inspections and audits. We also investigate contractors and people who are taking advantage of government contracts. We do a lot of fraud cases on that to help the prison save money. We're not coming in to try to just, I'm coming in to get you. We disprove allegations all the time too. So not everything we open turns out to be so. But we really do want to help make the BOP a better place for everyone.
Well, I'll just tell you, I think I can speak for Director Marshall and myself. We've really appreciated the working relationship since we started. One of the things I've said is it's not our job to defend the Bureau of Prisons. It's our job to fix it. That's what we're here for. We're here to improve it, and it does a lot of great things already. I mean, the mission, as I've traveled around, seeing some of the great staff, seeing the roles that they play, what they do, many have been very proud that we're going after some of the more difficult situations, those that aren't doing well or aren't representing this agency well. And so, we've worked for a long time with a union inside of the Bureau of Prisons, and you're aware that is not the case anymore, thanks to President Trump's executive order. And, I've always said I'm not pro or against. I think that it's been a long time since Bureau of Prisons has worked together as a team. There has been this dynamic that is just, I think unions really started out well, and then it has just gotten vitriolic. You just saw some of the emails that we were getting before. How has the union dynamic changed, or how has it affected your work or improving now?
Well, we've definitely had some challenges with the union in the past, such as them trying to interfere with interviews that we're doing, stopping our interviews in the middle, advising employees not to answer, even in a compelled interview. So, there's issues there. A compelled interview, an employee is required to answer our questions or they can be disciplined for it. So that I feel like the union has in the past, on occasion, give them bad advice. Sometimes the union will act as I don't want to say a lawyer, but give maybe some legal advice or from their experience, because they are experienced in many different situations dealing with employee matters. But whenever an employee discusses their case with a union representative, that is not a attorney-client discussion. We can actually put the union person in front of the grand jury to testify what the employee told them, or we can compel the union representative to tell us what the employee told them. And so it really helps if the employee answers for themselves. I understand if they want to talk about it with someone and get some employee relation concerns addressed. But when you're talking about a subject's freedom or further discipline action, I think they really need to try to make decisions on their own. And we try to respect that, though. Some union representatives in the past have been a little, I would say, over the top and animated whenever they're dealing with us. And we try to be very professional. We don't go in yelling and flailing our arms when we're doing interviews, and that has occurred by union representatives in the past. Not all, because there were some very, very good ones. And I'm not, these are kind of far few and in between, but it hinders the process, and it really disrupts the employee and what they're going through in their mind when they're sitting in front of us. We try to be very caring about that as well. And then just some of the policy process changes, whenever we make recommendations to change a policy or a procedure, and mostly that's our audit and evaluations and inspection division, there was this process where the union, it would just take so long. And we're trying to help you guys implement a change to help all the employees, but it was just a fight to fight. And so, I don't have that firsthand knowledge being on that side of it. I'm always on this side. But I appreciate the great reps that were out there that we had to deal with, and they were very respectful. But it has been challenging over the years at just various institutions.
The comments that we've heard since the union has been canceled from other bargaining employees as they were railing against them, saying, I told you this should have happened. You guys have been wasting your work time. You've been doing this. And one of the biggest things I hear is you've been protecting the bad employees. What experience have you seen with that? I mean, have you seen, I'm sure, from your perspective, because this is bargaining employees talking about this openly, social media and those things, saying you've been protecting the bad ones.
Yeah, so some of the really great representatives that were out there, when they would take a break in the middle of the interview, they go out in the hall, maybe the employee confessed, and they would have a conversation with the employee. You need to go in there and just tell him what you did. Like, we want this guy out of here. He's bad news. He's, committed these crimes. And they were very much for not protecting that employee. And then we've had experience with other representatives who, and I would hate to assume, but they really wanted to be reelected as the president. So they would just fight tooth and nail. It didn't matter if this person confessed they committed these crimes or that they had sex with inmates or were bringing in meth or, weapons and cell phones. They just kept fighting and fighting and fighting. And I would just wonder, like, why would you want this employee to still work here? They're jeopardizing every other employee here. So it's very, very frustrating. But we have dealt with union reps like that, and it's just very disheartening for the other employees who are there at that institution.
Since Director Marshall and I have been here working with Attorney General Pam Bondi, Deputy Attorney General Todd Blanche, they have been just very intentional about us cleaning up waste, fraud, and abuse. Full stop, no negotiation. And, for the first time, we're taking and even working to get prosecutions from staff members, even from things that wouldn't be like cell phones, right? Something that normally AUSAs are not picking up. We're picking them up. They're being intentional. And thanks to the Attorney General, I mean, it has been just great to be able to see that. We're coming and you're coming. And frankly, we're helping. We're all involved working together. What would you say to some of these staff members that might think that they're okay right now, that they're doing this, getting away with it, and they've been getting away with it?
Well, I would say just past experience. We usually have in our intelligence box the same employees' names, repeat names that come up often. We may have 2 cases, 3 cases, 4 cases on the same person, and maybe we didn't have enough evidence the first time or the second time, but eventually we will have enough and they will be indicted and arrested and prosecuted. And because of the AG and the DAG pushing out to all the U.S. Attorney's Office the importance of what we do, we even have districts across the United States who didn't really take a lot of false statement cases. And now we are seeing more of that. So if they lie to us, they will be prosecuted. And that's 18 U.S.C. 1001 false statements. So we have seen that across the board. So if they, or even false log entries, false PREA reports, false use of force reports, those are now being prosecuted under false statements or false writings, depending on, the U.S. Attorney's Office. Another crime that's not often seen, but a few cases have started to kind of show that this could be a choice for someone who knows someone else is committing a crime. So it's 18 U.S.C. 4, misprision of a felony. So if you know someone's committing a crime and you don't do anything about it, you can also be charged. You may not be charged with conspiracy because you're not part of it, but you are aware that someone's committing a crime, such as, another correctional officer knowing the cell phones are coming in and just turning their head and just allowing inmates to use the phones, and they're committing crimes. So now they're using that. They committed a crime with the phone. Now they're committing other crimes. So that is an avenue that we have as well.
I just want to say thank you. I think I speak on behalf of Director Marshall, myself, and many of the great staff that I have heard from as I've been out in the field. thanking us for working towards this corruption. Thank you for the work that you do, the Inspector General, your entire office, and we're really looking forward to this partnership growing and working with each other even more to make this a great workplace, a place that people can be proud of, and an agency people can hold their head high to be involved with. So thank you very much.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.